this morning.
All right. Any quick thoughts or comments before we hand it over to Nick Cooper from OpenAI?
Thanks a lot. Much appreciated, Ramesh. I think it's an exciting time. I think if you look upon, go back in time to 1995 when the web browser was launched, and the internet took its shape. Right, it was about all static web pages, information and data sharing between different organizations and humans and machines. And I think as we took through the journey over the last 25 years from digitization, I think we have come to a point where those pages have become dynamic, but they are all request and response, right? And as enterprises start to deploy this technology, build those agents, an interesting part which I am excited about is how will the agentic architecture take shape from a consumer standpoint, but also from an enterprise standpoint. And for this consumer and enterprise agents to talk to each other, it requires trust. It requires exchange of value between in a B2B environment and a B2C environment. And as we saw in the internet age, that we went from intranet of web pages to internet of web pages, and then to a complete economy where we basically have we are using internet for social media, advertising, and other usage that it was not designed for. It was designed to share research in the initial days when it was conceptualized. We are in the same era now with agents now being deployed. Agents are being deployed inside the enterprise. And I think we need an open architecture, an open standard, an open framework that allows these agents to talk to each other. And I think it's that open framework that Ramesh, you and your team are building upon, which is what puts the standards out there that requires us to engage in a conversation. What is critical for me is to be able to discover and search those agents, but not only discover and search, but create and collaborate to create that trusted relationship between two agents, whether it's a consumer to an enterprise or enterprise to an enterprise or enterprise to a consumer, and it has to react and respond to in an asynchronous way, both ways. And it is not about like we do on web pages, which is a request and response. It needs to be able to react to inputs and outputs from each of those engagements. I think if I look forward, I think there is quite a bit happening in this infrastructure. And what I see is that as organizations start to realize the value of this, they will think about agentic AI almost if they think about this as a replacement of the previous RPA regime. You basically will fail, because what will happen is the current architectures and the data that is in the enterprises is very rigid. And these agents that are smart will have to basically have. So hence, in our opinion, it is about reimagining the process, reimagining the enterprise, and obviously in the future, reimagining the industry. And what I mean by process reimagination is the form factor has changed fundamentally of how you take the input, and hence process reimagination will be a key factor as we look into it. The economic implications of this interaction will be fundamental, right? As we go through it, you will see, the current advertising revenues that you see in a lot of organization, or the social media engagement that happens, will start to move towards an economic model, which is basically where there is zero switching cost. There is disintermediation or shift in power between different agentic architecture. You can unbundle and rebundle your services. From being reactive, you will have to be proactive from the agentic architecture perspective. So it's a fundamental shift in how enterprises and consumers will think about using this technology. And I think as we look into it, you will start to see dynamic pricing and hyper-personalization in you leveraging some of this. And hence, I personally believe as we look into the future, this is a fundamental shift in not only how we think about the agent-to-agent communication, Ramesh. It is also about building the future economy that will enable the human-to-machine interaction in a trusted and in a way that basically generates value for both the ecosystem and for the consumers itself. I leave it there. I think this is a broad topic. There is quite to talk about in terms of how does the enterprises evolve, and we'll be happy to cover that at a future date.
Excellent. Thank you, Peeyush. I think you said something very important, which is as we start thinking about moving away from purely enterprise agents the enterprises need to start thinking about what does it mean when every consumer has their own agent. This is a very important